Hi, everyone. Oh, I have not been this delighted in a long time by a Marvel property. So I am here with the lovely Sherri. Say hi, Sherri.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Last night, we went to the early screening of Fantastic Four First Steps. And I can honestly say, without spoiling anything, that I spent that movie either laughing, bawling, or stressed out. Um, as someone who has gotten to the point where I feel like the Marvel Cinematic Universe on television has been far superior than the Marvel Cinematic Universe in film, this, even with how good Thunderbolts was, and Thunderbolts was pretty good,
Mhm.
this is what I think we've all been waiting for.
I agree with that.
This is peak Marvel. Um, so let's get into it. Sherri, what is Fantastic Four First Steps all about without being too spoilery?
Being spoilery. Reed Richards, the Invisible Woman, the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm, the Thing, face a daunting challenge with Galactus and the Silver Surfer, who you definitely want to see in a Fantastic Four film.
Yes, 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 yes.
The film is excellently cast. In the role of Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards, we have Pedro Pascal, everybody's love these days. As Sue Storm, Vanessa Kirby. As Joseph Quinn, Johnny Storm. Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. We have, I'm going to say his name wrong, Ebon Moss-Bachrach. Is that correct? As Ben the Thing. Matthew Wood. Give me one moment. I do not see who he was.
He's Herbie. He's
Herbie. Oh, the
Herbie.
robot.
Yeah.
Okay. We have Julia Garner as the Silver Surfer, and the rest. And there's a wonderful cast, an amazing cast, directed by Matt Sheckman, written by Eric Peterson, Jeff Kaplan, Ian Springer, and Kat Wood. That is the general information. Oh, and cinematography by Jess Hall. All of these things become important as we get through this discussion
Yeah.
today.
One character we didn't say, two
Oh,
characters actually.
oh, I
Rafe
apologize.
Innocent is
Mhm.
Galactus,
Yes.
which when I saw that casting, having seen him in so many things over the years, but specifically the Green Knight, my brain went, yes, absolutely. If you've seen the Green Knight, you know exactly who he is in the Green Knight. And my brain went, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And someone who into before we talk about the acting and the overall story, let's talk about the production design of this movie.
Award winning. When I saw the trailer earlier this year, I said, "This movie looks like," and I watch a lot of old movies, and this movie looks like it was filmed in the '60s. They put the filter that they've put on it, the way it's colored, and just the way it feels. It feels like it was shot in the '60s, which chef's kiss. The other thing that I loved about this film is that the set design also took what the 60s thought modern would look like, what computer culture, electronic culture would look like at that time, what they thought the future would look like. And to do that and keep it consistent through the film, through the costume design. So you know that this film is set in the 60s. And to make it look, even though it's a different area, it looks like that's what the 60s would think modern looked like. And that's what I love. And I loved that from a design standpoint.
This movie, much like Sinners, the Sinners being set in the 30s was actually a pivotal part. It's kind of like when you watch Sherlock And London itself is a character in Sherlock in and of itself. Or like if you watch, you haven't never seen Farscape, but if you watch Farscape, which we're going to do, the ship that they're on in Farscape is a character because the ship is alive. It's not just the ship that they literally live on is a sentient being. And so that is almost how the production design in this film felt. Like the New York of this world felt like an actual another character of the film.
I agree.
And I really love that. And we have to give credit where it's due. The costume designer, Alexandra Byrne, much like Ruth E. Carter did for Sinners, did the thing. From the littlest things to, as I did my eyes today, the winged eyeshadow. And I like the eyeliner, the way that Vanessa Kirby and Sarah Niles, their hair and the way their hair changed because their time is moving throughout the film. And so it's not just over a course of a day. This is over the course of at least a year and a half in the course of this film. And so the little things like the way that their hair changes because the styles are changing.
Right.
I love that. There was, and it gave us a idea of the time movement of how much time had passed as well. The sets themselves were so bright. I feel like, especially with the release of Superman right before this, and to a lesser extent, Thor Ragnarok before that, there has been a conscious effort to lean into these source materials. Thor Ragnarok looked like Jack Kirby drawings came to life. The other thing, and this is something we discussed before we got on, this movie and the entirety of this phase needs to go back and give everyone involved with Loki their flowers. Because Loki pretty much saved the MCU and allowed for what's currently happening to happen. And Loki made a change in how they did production that changed the standard. And they had to fight tooth and nail for it, which was to have physical sets, to not rely so much on CGI. They had to fight to get physical, actual sets. The ending of Loki, where we see him pulling all the strands together, is physical. Yeah, they CGI'd everything around it, but Tom Hiddleston is being literally pulling giant, when you could look behind the scenes, giant pieces of string towards him, and so that when they did CGI over it, it looked real. This movie is almost the culmination of that on a grander scale. Because the sets are physical, because it felt real. When there was CGI used, it felt real. When the Silver Surfer shows up, you immediately know it ain't going to be cute. Everything is about to get real bad real quick, and because she felt physically there. She felt physically there, and more importantly, she felt physically threatening. And that is even before we get to Galactus. And Rafe Innocent is such a great actor with the way he does his physicality, his voice, his eyes. Ugh. This man, and he's not have you ever seen him in real life?
I have not seen him in real life, but he is definitely one of the people now that I've looked at his picture here again to remind myself of his face, yes.
Yeah. He's in Nosferatu. It's one of the few times he's in a movie where he's not under a bunch of CGI. And his physicality as an actor, because he's a big man too. His physicality as an actor was so important for this. Oh my God. He is so good at telling you a story with just his eyes. Just his eyes. And you need that for that character. Because much like, again, I'm going to reference Sinners, much like Remick in Sinners, he just wants to have some peace.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes across. So I really like the way they gave us these beautiful sets, these fully formed physical things. I love all of the little details down to the synagogue. And can I just say, and this is going to go, we might as well just take it straight into the performances.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for finally casting a Jewish actor as Ben Grimm. I love Michael Chiklis as much as the next person. But like we were speaking about last night, right after we watched it, when we were talking about Titans, certain characters, their ethnicity or religious beliefs or both are actually very important. You can
I
get
agree.
away with casting a black Kal-El or an Asian Kal-El. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's an alien. But when the characters, I don't know, Catholicism, Daredevil, or Judaism, Ben Grimm, Night Owl, over in the Watchmen universe, or being Romani, where one of the things that will always piss me off, where they drop the ball with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, or with who's our young man with Dick Grayson in Titans. When you drop that part of that character, you have fundamentally taken away a huge aspect of who that character is.
Mm-hmm.
It is a foundational principle of who they are as a person. So let's get into the characters. Starting with Ben. How familiar are you with Ben Grimm?
I, as a character, I've seen him in, of course, other Fantastic Four properties. To know his like complete backstory and outside of becoming the Thing, what I have noticed in the other properties that I've watched, Ben becomes the Thing, and then he just becomes a weapon. He's no longer human. He's just here to fight. This is one of the first times where where Ben's humanity still comes through. His desire to still be with the people, even though he now looks like a rock. That's the first time I've seen it come through. And Avon did it. It was brilliant. It was like he's one of these actors I see all over the place. Every time I see him, I'm never unhappy to see him, but I'm going, was he right for this? And yes, he was exactly right for this. I don't know anybody else that could have pulled that off like he did.
It's interesting you should say that because Ben is one of those characters who's close to my heart. And I remember I wanted, when we were doing who would you cast? And I remember thinking, honestly, if he was Jewish, Jensen Ackles. And my reasoning behind that is A, Jensen Ackles is so pretty. I would love to have a part where his face was not the most important part.
I
And
get that.
B, Jensen Ackles is the king of being able to express so much emotion without saying a damn thing. You don't pull off carrying a TV series for 15 years without being able to do that. And his character on that show was so good about showing a lot without ever speaking. And
Right.
so when Evan was cast, I was like, yep, okay, that makes sense because I've seen him in so many things. And I'm like, this tracks. And damn, if you're right, like he absolutely, the Ben's vulnerability rarely gets touched on because he's the Thing, right? He's damn near invulnerable. This is a character who canonically went head to head with the Hulk and came out fine. You know, he's unbreakable. So that means that he also is one of those characters because of that, because he's physically unbreakable, he wears his heart on his sleeve. There is a moment in the movie that had me absolutely bawling. He goes, you can tell there's so much longing to be who he used to be. And he sees someone, and I'm going to start crying again. and she tries to get him to join her, but he
Yes.
looks at himself. He sees himself in a storefront, and you can see him thinking, I'm a monster, and he turns away. And it's like, Ben, this young lady doesn't give a shit. She don't care. She don't care. She sees
Right.
who you actually are, but he can't.
Hmm.
Yet he, second only to Sue, is the biggest nurturer of the group, which I absolutely loved. In
Yes.
some ways, more than Sue, because he's like, he corrals all of them to an extent. And I really loved that so much. Um, two of my other favorite things is, for me specifically, Herbie being there.
Mhm.
Herbie's never really truly been a full character in these films. I don't think he was even in the previous ones. I blocked so much of those movies out, though. He could have been.
From what I do not, in the previous films, I do not see him.
Yeah. I'm like, I was like, maybe he was, but again, I blocked those out for my own sanity. So I'm just like, they're so. Anywho, Herbie is such a part of the mythos of these characters that him being there made me extraordinarily happy.
Mhm.
Um, just because he's like Jarvis, right? He's such a part of who these characters are. He is so much a member of this family.
Definitely, he's. There's no other way to say it. He is woven into the fabric of this story.
Yeah, and he's important. He's not just there
Hmm.
to be adorable. He's
Yeah,
important. It's
he has a
R2D2,
job.
right?
Yes.
It's R2. It's and who I'm sure was inspired by Herbie. I bet you if we asked George Lucas, he would say yes to an extent, because George Lucas was a huge comic book fan growing up, and I guarantee you R2D2 was probably Herbie predated him. Even the colors are the same. I would not be surprised. And Herbie not only being there, being absolutely adorable, being super competent. There's one moment where he's like, oh, absolutely not. Shut it down. And I was like, yes, Herbie, yes. Homeboy was like, we not playing with you today. I might not be able to articulate, but I can tell you
Today.
my own way, we not doing this. And I loved it. I loved that he was competent. I loved that he was actually key to at least two things actually that are major plot points, which goes into my next favorite thing, which is Johnny frickin' Storm. Okay,
Hmm.
every previous adaptation of the Fantastic Four has made Johnny very pretty and just a hot-headed, not idiot, but reckless and kind of book smart, but common sense lacking.
Or smart ass, leaning
Yes.
more on the assy in the bit.
Yes.
And this one,
No.
while being a smart ass, while being sarcastic, is very intelligent.
Yes. And that, for me,
Mhm.
was one of the things I have literally been waiting for. And I'm not even talking about just the films, I'm talking about the comic books. I'm not the comic books, I'm not more like the comics from the last 40 years, less of that, but the cartoon adaptations. No scientist in their right mind is going to have their wife's brother on a potentially fatal exploration flight just
Mhm.
because he's her brother. He would have to justify why he's there. And
Agreed.
this is the first time where Johnny's intelligence, and more importantly, his empathy, which is one of Johnny's biggest strengths in the
Mhm.
comics, has been emphasized. Johnny's ability to empathize with others is one of the reasons why his friendship with Spider-Man, with Peter Parker, is such a big deal as well. Because Peter when they start like, and you, I don't know how familiar you are with this because you're not as much of a comic book girl as I am, but when
Mhm.
Peter and Johnny start first interacting, Peter is still a little bit of the cold person, not cold, but the angry young man that he was post Ben's death. And there are a couple of times where Peter's reactions to things, you could have talked this out. It didn't. We didn't have to. We didn't have to go straight to I'm webbing you up and whipping and beating the brakes off of you. And Johnny balances him, which is one of the reasons why I cannot wait until we get these two together. Literally, their friendship, Luke and Danny, Luke Cage and Danny Rand. When it's written right, Tony and Steve are some of the best friendships in comics because they balance each other out. And so I need this Johnny to meet Tom Holland's Peter because, or Andrew Garfield's Peter, either one would work for me. I need, and with the multiverse,
It all can happen.
they're all in play. I
Mhm.
need these characters to interact because it enhances both characters. Um, the Joseph Quinn, who I'm still pissed about him being unalived on Stranger Things. I'm still mad about that. I'm like to the point where I don't even want to watch this new. Like I'm so angry about that I don't even know if I want to watch this next season. Even though it's the final season, so I probably will. Um, Joseph Quinn is so good as his character, and going into the next character, his relationship for me with Sue already a given because they're siblings and they've been through hell together before this situation ever happened because of the way their mother died. But what I really liked beyond the fact that he was super intelligent was the way he kept making Reed be human.
Yes. Yes. Pedro, and that's another thing. And with prior Reed Richards, we get the cocky, confident, I'm running everything and I'm right. With this Reed, they've shaved off a lot of that cocky confidence. There's a word I'm looking for and I can't, it's not pulling it in my brain.
Arrogance.
Arrogant. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This Reed knows he's smart, knows he knows what he can do, knows what can be done, but he's not arrogant. He's extremely self-conscious, and I love that.
I love that they actually played to Pedro Pascal's real life anxiety.
Mhm.
They actually made that work
Yes,
for the character.
I agree.
If you're not aware, Pedro Pascal suffers from crippling anxiety, which people are like, how can he be an actor? As somebody who is an actor, trust me, who you are when the camera is going or you're on stage is not who you are off stage. It's just
I
not.
I am a I am a poet, and people often are surprised to hear that not only am I a poet, not only do I get out here and do these reviews, but I'm very much an introvert. Leave me
Same,
alone.
same. I am when the panini started, I
Hmm.
was the first one to be like, "Oh, you want me to stay home and not interact with people and read books?
Okay,
Okay,
in the
uh,
house. Wait a
in
minute,
my
I am
house,
alone.
yeah, I'm
I'm
good.
good.
That's fine."
Hmm.
So I love that they made that work, and I love that they did a really interesting thing
Hmm.
because Reed is one of those characters who now I'm that's not, and I'm not going to say that it's not well earned. Reed Richards and Hank Pym have a reputation in the comic books as being two of the worst spouses in the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like not Marvel Cinematic, in the entirety of Marvel Comics. They have a reputation, and it is a well earned reputation. The difference here is, unlike with Hank Pym, who I still can't stand, couldn't stand him in the books, can't stand him in the movies, can't stand him. Um, Reed in this film and the Reed of later iterations, A, not arrogant. B, it's grounded in something terrible happened, not just to me, but something terrible happened to the woman I love long before I met her. And her brother, who is my brother too. If I can prevent terrible things from happening forever and ever, I have to look at what's the worst thing that could happen, and then I've got to do everything I can to prevent it. And so grounding his intelligence in that mindset of somebody who, because terrible things happened to the people he loves, he cannot, and he's watched them suffer for them, specifically Ben. I really love Ben and Reed in this movie. Oh my God, that's another thing the previous adaptations really did not get right. Ben is Reed's brother in every way that counts.
Right.
And it kills Reed every single day. Every single day that Ben will never be able, as far as Reed knows, will never be able to have a family, will never be able to have his own children. That's it's like a little knife to Reed every single day. And so knowing, grounding the character in that makes all the difference in the world.
I agree. I definitely agree.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Previous films, the Fantastic Four were more friends. And that's what you felt. That's what you feel, is that these are four friends that went to space and came back with these abilities. This film feels like a family. Like these people, before they went into space, they loved each other. When they came back, they still love each other, and they're still willing to fight. And it's just a different feeling, a different vibe. Belle, we've talked about this before, that when the one thing that Marvel has done excellently up until Eternal, no, Love and Thunder did it. Every Marvel film, there's another movie. Everybody sees the superhero film, but they don't see the genre in which they have filmed. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness is Marvel doing horror. Love it or hate it, Love and Thunder is a romantic comedy between Thor and Mjolnir. It ain't nothing to do with Jane. I like that they closed out Jane's story, but it was a romantic comedy between him and Mjolnir. And this one is the 60s family comedy. This one fits in the veins of with Six You Get Egg Rolls, with Keep Her by the Dozen. Like, that's where this film fits.
What was the show that Bill Billingsley was on before Eddie? The Courtship of Eddie's Father. That's what that. I'm so glad you said that, because thank you. That is the connection my brain wasn't making. Yes, The Courtship of Eddie's Father. Yes, and that's what this felt like, but superheroes.
And it's always fun finding it. I'm still trying to figure out what Thunderbolt really is, and it might not be. That one just might be a superhero film. But give me a couple of weeks, I may figure it out. I need to watch it again. Because I'll say it to women, and I'm going to say it in this podcast, and I will say it wherever else anybody will listen. The best political thriller made in the last 25 years, Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Yep. Yeah, it was. And it's funny because, the fallout from it wasn't handled well, but the actual film itself, yes. Last but not least, we got to talk about the ladies of this film. And that is Vanessa Kirby and Julia Garner.
As we've talked about before, I haven't read the source material. I come to Marvel films blind as to what's what. And I like it that way only because I think it gives for this job, it gives that perspective. Like I ain't never read a comic, but this is why I like the film. My question is that every Silver Surfer that I've seen before has been male. Is the Silver Surfer always coded male in the source material? Okay.
No, actually, and I thought one of the things that they do in this film, which sets up something that's going to come down the line, is, without spoiling too much, the connection between the Silver Surfer and our protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to previous podcasts, you will know that Armand felt a type of way about the Silver Surfer being Shabala, not because he doesn't want her, but because he felt with her being there, it kind of gave Frankie Ray's story away. And having seen the movie, people who've read the comics will know what I'm talking about. If you've not read them, you're in for a lovely surprise, but it's going to break your heart down the line, because I feel like we are going to get that storyline down the line. If what we see in this movie is any indication, we're going to get Frankie Ray's storyline, and because of the way they set it up in this movie, it's going to make complete sense. Shawbala's backstory is completely different than Frankie Ray's. Frankie Ray is also one of the female Silver Surfers. Completely different backstories. So keep that in mind. But their connections to at least two of our characters, and I cannot say more without spoiling the movie, are not the same, but similar enough. And I will tell you what I'm talking about when we get offline. But Julia Garner, again, as I said at the top, I've seen her in a lot of things. I saw her in Ozark. She was fantastic on that show. She was in The Wolfman most recently that I know of. And she will be in Weapons, which is coming out very soon. Both of which are horror films. With Josh Brolin, no less. Like, okay, so Thanos and the Silver Surfer are in the movie together.
And wait a minute, y'all. And I love that for them.
Yes.
Because everybody that accepts a Marvel paycheck, and Marvel keep writing the checks, gives them the room to go do a werewolves, to do some of the smaller projects, because I got a big enough check over here
that I can afford to do what I want.
I can afford to do some of the smaller work. So leave the people to do the Marvel films alone. Yeah. All right, off my scope.
I mean, literally, Tom Hiddleston wouldn't have met his wife had they not gotten that Marvel check. Because if he had been on Broadway and on the West End doing Betrayal with the woman who will soon be his wife and mother of his now 2 children, he had the money from the Marvel movies to do what he wanted to do later. So she was so fantastic in this. And it was interesting because the Silver Surfer has always been very stoic, right? But in the hands of a very good actor, in the hands of good writers in the comic books, that character's pain screams. And that was very clear in this movie. The pain that she was carrying, from the moment we see her, you could tell she didn't even want to be there. You could tell she didn't want to be there. And her pain was so very clear. She just did a great job. And then we got the true MVP of this movie, who for the first time ever in live action is shown for exactly why she is the woman who whooped Thor's. I mean, when I tell you she beat the brakes off of him in the comics, he tried it. And Sue was like, "Oh, you thought
Mhm.
you must not know who I am." She was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, you must not know who I
I
am."
lo- I loved I loved Sue so much.
Oh my
I,
God,
as
Vanessa Kirby. Oh,
and I love Vanessa Kirby as an actress, but I have to give it up to the writers. They wrote
yes.
woman, period. They wrote her strength, they
Mhm.
wrote her weakness, they wrote her compassion,
Her
they
anger.
her anger,
Yes.
her I I'm just gonna go with the how we still have to take care of everything even when right
Yeah.
now it's not a good time for me to be taking care of stuff. They wrote that in there.
Yeah.
Um, the protector that women are,
Yes.
everybody has their protections, but the way how protective and caring women are, they really they really brought that into this role.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a Sue I have seen before.
It's never been there. She's either been a straight scientist or she has been a scientist, and where I don't believe that you've ever looked at a beaker in your life. Jessica. Um, and so you felt Sue's intelligence.
Mhm.
You felt her, the way she knew how she could read, no puns intended. And her brother and Ben, how she, while Ben was the caregiver for the group overall, Sue was the one who understood how to, for lack of a better term, how to best use their abilities in any given situation. Reed was the field commander. Reed knew, if I say do this, and this, if we want to live, you better do exactly what I just said. But Sue is the one who you could tell is the one that was trained. You could tell behind the scenes is the one that's training them to use their abilities to the best of their ability. Sue it's This is the first film where you could tell that Sue and Reed really were the co-leaders of this team.
Correct.
If not, yeah, this is the first time I truly felt the partnership between them, no, both as a couple, but also as actual leaders of a superhero team who have tasked themselves to protect the planet. She was the more public facing. I can't even say that because Reed was public facing too in a different way than but she was the diplomat. She is the one that's going, okay, how do we make this, how do we de escalate these situations so that everyone wins? Whereas Reed is the one who figures out if we can't de escalate, how do we win? And that is such a great dynamic. And I really love it. And I want them to be rock solid because one of the problems with what's about to happen with Avengers Doomsday, and this is not a spoiler, we all know Doomsday is coming. One of the biggest issues between Sue and Reed is Namor.
Mm-hmm.
And so somebody said, we're about to get our first Marvel telenovela. And I'm like, we kind of are.
And I'd be here for that.
Because she is drawn to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he does, and so if they aren't rock solid before that situation becomes a canonical part of the series, then it goes, well, why doesn't she just leave Reed for him? Whereas for the first time, I would understand why she wouldn't leave Reed for him. Mm-hmm. Because I can be perfectly honest, every other version of Reed that we've seen in film, whether it's the 1990s ones or early 2000 ones or the 1994 one, I'm like, girl, do you know Namor got a whole kingdom, boo? Girl, you better go get yourself. Y'all don't even have kids yet. You better go get that. Like with Dr. Doom, I can see why she wasn't trying to hear it because, yeah, he got his own kingdom too, but Victor is insane. But Namor is arrogant the same way that Reed is arrogant. But again, it comes from, at least these versions, it comes from a place of protection.
Right.
So I really like how they did such a great job with Sue. I really like that we got to see Sue's power. And to be perfectly honest, what we see in this movie is not even a tenth. It is kind of like on X-Men 97 when we saw Storm really let go, and which we have never seen in anime or film, animation or film before. This is what, and knowing damn well that this is only part one, that both Sue and Storm, no, damn it, I did it again, no puns intended, we are only getting a fraction of what they're going to be capable of based off of the comics. Oh, my girl, my heart, because those are two of my favorite characters, and to see them actually, to see Sue, to see Johnny, to see Aurora and Scott being characters who were dwarfed. I don't know if are familiar with this. Are you familiar with the Worf effect?
No, I have not.
It became a running gag when Star Trek Next Generation was on, that they made a point of making Worf the biggest physical badass of the crew, only to have something come in and whip his butt to prove how much more terrifying they are.
Right.
They Worf affect a lot of it, and this is something the X-Men films did. This is something that the MCU to a lesser extent did with Loki. They nerfed them, they dwarfed them, because in all honesty, they have story breaker powers. Sue, Storm, I gotta stop doing that. Sue, Aurora, mm-hmm. Instead of saying her name like that, Sue, Aurora, Loki, Wanda, Jean Grey, who is another character that's like that has literal story breaking powers. And so they made those characters weaker than they are in the comics so that the story could continue instead of writing the story better. This is the first time Sue was written to be exactly what she is. And the story actually had to come up and match her power level. And I love everything about this. It makes me so happy. So overall, your overall rating of, I should just pull up what you sent me right after the movie. So, y'all, we were in two different seats. Like, it was like 30 of us there last night.
Yeah, and we got to do that again sometime. Even though we were in the wrong row, I loved it.
It was so great.
It was great. Like, 4.9 out of 5, because we've already talked. I do have one note.
Yes.
And it's enough to give me that 0.1. Yeah, I'm gonna need y'all to retcon that back in, and then
and then we're set. For me, it's the same thing,
because it would be a spoiler to the movie. But there's one thing that upset me, not upset me, but just kind of catches you out. Like, why didn't it? It would have been so easy for them to do. So just 0.1 off, but a 4.9.
Same. I think it's a 4.9, and it's literally because of one specific thing that is related to what your issue was, where I was like, okay, but how does that work? You've established that it works like this, so how are you going to do it on the scale you want to do it on? When you guys see the movie, you will know what I'm talking about, because if you establish very early on in the film that it works like this, and then don't make at least a passing reference to how it would have to, how you would be able to pull this off on the scale you want it to, then it negates it to an extent. And I know why they didn't get into it, but then don't establish it. On that note, thank you guys for sitting with us as we talked about Fantastic Four First Steps. As I said at the top of this movie deserves to be seen. We tried to do as few spoilers as possible, because we can genuinely say that, much like Sinners, it deserves to be seen and experienced on its own. And hands down, this movie might be this movie is a masterpiece, and I do not say that lightly. I have enjoyed previous MCU films. I have rewatched previous MCU films. I have loved them, but this stands out. The Netflix MCU, Echo, Loki, and this, and Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night was amazing.
Yeah, are my of the entirety, and I'm not even kidding, of the entirety of the MCU. I know a lot of people, and as my husband said last night, Endgame is because it's a culmination of 10 years worth of work. But for me, standalone, totally, you don't need to see nothing else. Those properties, for me, are what the MCU has done amazing. You could watch the entire Netflix MCU and not have seen any of the films and still have a completely well-written story about these characters that are grounded and beautiful and heartbreaking and hilarious all in one. Echo, you cannot have seen anything and it's the same thing. Well, I consider Echo and The Punisher and Moon Knight part of the Netflix MCU, in all honesty. So those characters, I can rewatch those properties repeatedly and not have seen anything else and be fine. This to me is on that same level. If I never saw nothing else involved with MCU, I would see this and I would watch it over and over and over again. That's how good it was.
Since Disney brought the entire MCU back together with all the mergers, basically, and that's what's happened in the past couple of years, everybody's been clamoring for this movie. And if Disney just wanted to get out here and make some money, they could have released this movie the year after the merger. They did not. They gave it time. They gave the writers time to write it, to build it, and that is exactly what we needed. So leave it to the experts.
As Armand is known for saying on the main podcast, it's amazing what happens when you actually give creatives control.
Amen.
And it makes all the difference in the world. When you give art the space to breathe, and comic books are art, when you give them space to breathe and you give their adaptations space to breathe, you get this movie.
Amen.
And there's no MCU film where I was like, oh, damn, this is damn near perfect. This is a damn near perfect adaptation. Hands down. And I love it. Go see the movie, guys.
Go see it. Go see it.
Go see it. Go see it multiple times. If this movie and Sinners aren't nominated for every damn thing, I will be unsurprised because we know the Academy hates horror and comic book movies, but I will be wildly disappointed. They deserve it.
Wait a minute, and I'm going to throw in into that conversation drop. I did not realize it until I saw it. I wish I had seen it in the theater.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. That it should have been seen in the theater because it was fantastic.
It's a fantastic film. I'm writing something about it right now, but it is a fantastic movie. It is Hitchcock for 2025. I'm not the first one to say it, but I'm definitely putting a stamp on that. It is Hitchcock for 2025.
Nice. All right, y'all. You can find us at PC Uncover on Instagram and Threads and TikTok, popcultureuncovered.com, and Pop Culture Uncovered on Facebook and Tumblr. And you can support us on our Patreon, Pop Culture Uncovered on Patreon, where I have twisted Sherri's arm. She is going to watch Farscape with me. Here's the thing, she gonna love it. Even if she hates the storyline, the costumes gonna get her on the first episode, because when she sees the level of detail for each and every character, she gonna be like, oh damn it. Oh, girl, yeah.
I love a good costume.
Yeah. And that's not even getting into the puppetry.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'll be ready.
Yeah. And Jordan and I will be doing, our uncut reactions to Farscape will be on Patreon. Our uncut reactions you and I are doing Full Metal Alchemist, because you've never watched it. Jordan and I are doing Farscape. So either way, or we might all be doing Farscape, because Jordan's never watched Farscape.
I'm watching something apparently, and I'll find it.
Uncut reactions will be on Patreon. So if you want to support us there, please do. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.